Welcome to Nothing Is Real, a podcast about the Beatles. Everybody thinks they know the Beatles, but how much do we really know? My name's Jason Carty.
My name's Stephen Cockcroft.
And we're live on tape from Dublin and Belfast. On the 23rd of March 1970, Phil Spector took a selection of Beatles tapes into Abbey Road to fashion an album from them. 10 days later, on April the 2nd, he was done, and the Let It Be album came out just a month later on the 8th of May 1970. It was a rapid-fire sequence of events that was not wholly under the full control of John, Paul, George and Ringo. Famously, John Lennon called it the shittiest load of badly recorded shit. Well, good news, everybody, because today the Let It Be box set was announced. 5 CDs and 1 Blu-ray, or 5 LP vinyls with 100-page books and other sorts of permutations. So, Stephen, I'm going to start with a theory/question. Get Back, Let It Be, is it cursed? The floor is yours.
The floor is mine. But thank you for that introduction. That was a marvellous introduction with virtually no notice whatsoever. Is it cursed? It certainly gives the impression of being cursed from, the terrible sessions in January 69, the falling out over the strings, the beautiful Phil Spector strings, and... and now this.
Yeah, because I think an awful lot of fans were thinking, when the first round of announcements were made in January 2019, that we were going to get some form of closure.
Yes.
And I don't think we're going to get closure on any of this. And I think maybe that's just what Let It Be, Get Back is. It's this amorphous, non-concluding, unsatisfactory merry-go-round where it just isn't one thing, and no matter how much people try to make it one thing, it's just not one thing.
Is it too contentious, do you think, within the Beatles camp? I mean, first of all, what I would say is I really like this album. I really like this album. I know it's kind of sometimes regarded as the runt of the litter, and my theory, because I can do theories too.
We're all about theories.
We're all about theories and lists and more theories and more lists. But my theory is, if this album had actually come out before Abbey Road, if this had come out after the White Album, this would be regarded as an absolute stone classic. But coming after the slick, solid state sounds of Abbey Road, and accompanying the news of the breakup, it's kind of just been consigned to kind of, it's a bit of an afterthought, really. But I love this album. I think it's got some great performances. I don't mind the Phil Spector production. It may be a little bit kind of treacly, but who's to say that The Long and Winding Road, one of Paul's big ballads, doesn't need a bit of treacly production?
Well, he's fond of the old treacle himself from time to time. He's fond of the
treacle. And have you heard that version he did himself on when he rescued the song from Phil Spector's hands and did his own version on that film soundtrack?
Are you summoning the film? Are you summoning the film, Stephen?
So he does a version for I Can't Bring Myself to Say It.
Give my regards to Broad Street.
That's the one. And I remember the Rolling Stone review at the time. I haven't looked this up in all the time that film has been around. And they said, this is surely designed for someone whose next stop is drinking whiskey alone at home of an evening, listening to Frank Sinatra. It's the most kind of schlocky, and yet this was Paul's preferred treatment. It was the 80s.
It was the 80s after all, yes.
Anyway,
but we'll save that for the never happening Give My Regards to Broad Street episode.
I like Let It Be, and I don't care who knows it.
Well, so we're doing this episode hot off the skillet, and they've just put out the the little online movie, the little 1-minute thing attached to their Twitter feed about, Let It Be is coming out, and there's all the little clips of the songs and the clips of the rooftop, and you're kind of watching it going, oh yeah, Let It Be is full of songs. It's full of really well-known hit songs. It's got Get Back, it's got Let It Be, it's got The Long and Winding Road. So essentially, no other Beatles album has kind of 3 number ones on it, depending on which side of the Atlantic you're on, but essentially 3 number one singles. Plus, the backup, tracks are, For You, Blue, and Across the Universe. It's a solid album. You're right. Its circumstances give it a bit of a black mark. And I was listening to it at the weekend, and it's a very jaunty 35 minutes. I don't. It's Let It Be.
If this was the album of the concert in the Roundhouse, plus some studio rehearsal takes and things like that. It would be great. It does have a bad reputation. I'm really looking forward to the Peter Jackson movie. I was really looking forward to this box set. I am a fan of the movie. I've said this before. First time I saw it, didn't like it. The more I listen to it, the more I watch it, the more I kind of think, this is a great movie. And it's not downbeat. It's not depressing. It's very grainy because of the film stock that was used in blowing it up to sort of for screening in the cinema. But it's got a narrative and it's a great movie. And hey, it's the Beatles, and what's not to love? I thought there was a real opportunity here for what you said, closure.
Yeah, I thought so too. And, I think it's, the quote that has been knocking around the last day or two is that one of Lennon, where he does talk about cover your ears, children, the shittiest load of shit. But what Lennon actually said that's the Rolling Stone interview from the end of 1970 was that, he says to Spector, speaking of Phil Spector, he worked like a pig in it. He always wanted to work with the Beatles, and he was given the shittiest load of badly recorded shit with a lousy feeling towards it, and he made something of it. He did a great job. So the actual punchline of that is that it's recorded in that way, but it's actually a great album. But John is happy with the end result, and it's worth keeping that in mind, But yeah, it's all the politics and Paul wanting McCartney out before Let It Be and all the other stuff that happened in the spring of 1970. And yeah, the closure was, when I was kind of looking up a few bits and pieces, and I put this up on Twitter, was I had a prediction as to what the ultimate Let It Be box would be. And not all my wish list has been ticked. But maybe we should talk about what is in the box set. So this is the fourth of the Beatles album box sets, obviously Pepper, the White Album, and Abbey Road. And now we have Let It Be coming out after the All Things Must Pass box set, because nothing makes sense anymore. And, the last Beatles box set was a pandemic ago. But here we are, and it's a 5 CD, and we'll put a big asterisk beside that 5th CD, and we'll come back to that in a second, with a Blu-ray. Super Deluxe Edition with a 100-page book, and all the material except for the surround sound stuff is on a 5 vinyls, 4 LPs and an EP, with the same, it seems, 100-page book, which for a start is actually a nice setup compared to with Abbey Road and the White Album. If you bought the vinyl, you didn't get all the bits and pieces that you were getting in the main CD box. So actually this time around, you can buy the vinyl, you'll get the book, and you forgo the surround sound, but that's something you forgo with vinyl anyway. Yeah,
you're a great man for an accessory. You do love the accessories. The books. I have to say, the books when the books
have been fantastic.
They have been absolutely fantastic, and I would be very annoyed if I, was sort of restricting myself to vinyl and thinking I wasn't getting the same book content. The books have been uniformly excellent.
Yeah, and it was pretty annoying with Abbey Road, because I think Abbey Road, because the CDs were only about 45 minutes, worked well on vinyl with all the extra stuff, but you did not get the book. So this time around, you do get the book. Now, the book we haven't really seen in the little preview film. They haven't done that thing where they flip through the book. And there's a couple of things that make it a bit odd. One is that we are getting a massive Get Back book in October as well, which is coming out the same day as the box set, which is the official tie-in book for the Peter Jackson movie. And that's a bit like what Lennon has been doing, where there's been an Imagine book and a separate book and a box. So I wonder, is the movie book going to undermine the value of the box set, the Let It Be box set book?
Well, do we think the Let It Be box set book might be the original 1970 box set book?
Well, it's a different format. I don't think from the one bit they've shown, it does look different. And the thing about Let It Be, right? It's a big hit album. You can't ignore that, and it's part of the Beatles canon. And so certain members, Paul, can't really wish it away. You have to acknowledge it on the same level as, the ones who've come forward, Pepper, White Album, Abbey Road. You can't have a Get Back box set. People won't really understand that. So it has to be Let It Be. So then when you get to the book, is Paul going to write one of his lovely intros again to this album that's caused him so much annoyance? Or maybe Ringo will get to do the intro.
I hope Paul will be saying, George was really just about to come into his own as a songwriter. At this point, he wasn't quite there. He wouldn't really, his songs here are not quite Harrison classics, but he'll say something like that. It would be nice.
But you know what I mean? Or is the book going to actually reflect? Is there going to be an essay in it called, the turmoil of getting Phil Spector in, or how are they going to acknowledge any of that? Because the wording of the press release where it says Giles Martin has remixed this for 2021 because it's a brand new mix, folks.
Yeah.
But it's sort of saying in the style of Phil Spector, it's all very convoluted.
So now we have Phil Spector. What was that? George Martin produced it, Phil Spector overproduced it, and now Giles Martin is underproducing the overproduction?
I don't know what he's doing. But it's not, this 2021 remix is not obviously Let It Be Naked, which everyone seems to just be forgetting about. And we're going to say that never happened, it seems.
Yeah, well, Let It Be Naked, I enjoy some of the performances on that album, but it was fairly pointless. Mm-hmm. The version which came with whatever it was, 3.5 hours of snippets of conversation. I mean, that was just
20-minute fly on the wall thing is crazy.
That was nuts, absolutely nuts. I have no idea. That does seem to me to have been just a sort of Paul vanity project. This is something he needed to get off his chest for that length of time, and then he finally did it. He put the album out. He scored the result there, and I don't know anybody that loves that album. There are individual performances on it I quite like.
I think it's worth a listen, and I think.
I'm not saying it's not worth it.
It has a bit of that bright, turn of the century, dense, very compressed production to it.
Well, exactly. It's as of its time as the Phil Spector production in 1970 was maybe of its time. I don't think it's dated particularly well.
Yeah, and they took the wonky chord out of Let It Be, which nobody likes when they do that. The 3-minute chord.
Nobody likes that. But I say it's an album I like. I think there was a real opportunity here to do something kind of quite special. There's a lot of material. That's the other thing. I'm looking at the list of sessions and jams and things like that.
Let's just say, so if you haven't seen it, folks, it's laid out in, there's CD1, LP1, which is the 2021 remix by Giles Martin. So that's going to be good.
That's going to be
Giles Martin remix will be fine. Then LP2, CD2 is Apple Sessions. And this seems to be like a parallel universe version of the Get Back album. It seems to be song based and take based. And so should be a parallel listening experience to the original album. What I find frustrating in the track listing is that bits of speech are getting their own tracks. Like it's not like on the original album, I Dig a Pygmy got its own track, or any of the other spoken bits. But now the spoken bits are getting their own tracks. But the Apple Sessions has Two of Us, Maggie May, Can You Dig It? For You Blue, a few of the bits and pieces, One After 909, versions of Get Back, Dig a Pony, and it ends with Wake Up Little Susie into I Me Mine, which I'm wondering, is that actually from January 1970? Nobody's too sure, it seems. That might be interesting if it was.
That would be interesting.
And then CD3 and LP3 seems to be much more loose, and that's labeled as rehearsals and Apple Jams, which I'm going to assume, because a lot of that is marked as being in mono, is stuff that's taken from the Nagra film tapes and has been de-bleeped and cleaned up and made to sound vaguely functional. Interestingly, it's got Give Me Some Truth on it, plus a bunch of stuff that will go on to Abbey Road, Polythene Palm, Bathroom Window, Octopus's Garden, and Oh Darling.
So give me some truth is a Beatles song now, is it?
That's the rules. Well, it's I have to admit, I am not, and I've said this on the podcast before, I am not somebody with any kind of massive collection of bootlegs or intense knowledge of what was recorded across the whole month of January 1969. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, they've done that thing they normally do, which is to create a palatable 2 CDs of extras that will, people will find interesting and will like.
You see, I think the problem is that most people not you, or not you, obviously, but most people will have heard so much of this stuff. You know, one of the very first bootlegs I ever got was called Sweet Apple Tracks, Volumes 1 and 2. And it's sort of from a set period, and you've got John singing Get Back, which is kind of very famously, he kind of, there's a breakdown and Ringo just kind of fills in and it takes off again, and that's a really spectacular piece of playing. You've got Commonwealth, which is this kind of jam. You've got Paul doing the No Pakistanis version of Get Back. You've got this terrible version of House of the Rising Sun. You've got Susie Parker or Susie's Parlour, depending on how you hear it. Tennessee. Everybody's familiar with these. Everyone will have heard these. They're circulating. So these are the kind of things that I certainly was hoping. Let's have that. Let's kind of get the 12-minute version of Dig It. Let's have those. And why would you limit yourself to 4 or 5 CDs? There's a lot there, and a lot more interesting stuff that I have heard.
Well, even from the casual stuff
that's appearing here, you know.
Yeah, even the casual stuff that a non-bootleg expert like me knows, like Susie's Parlour, Parker, whatever it is. What's that? The Mountain Bird or Mountain King? What's that one?
King of the
Mountain Birds, or I can't remember. It's late.
Yeah, that's actually, you know, Watching Rainbows. I mean,
Watching Rainbows is another one.
Yeah.
Is so you thought, well, you know, they just seem like open goals. Why not just you know, put them on instead of stuff that's very much the very sort of Abbey Road heavy material.
I know exactly what that version of Give Me Some Truth sounds like. And it's not worth, you know, it's
if memory serves, it's very much kind of a litany, kind of rolling kind of thing from the, because you can look this stuff up on YouTube, folks, you know.
And, you know, that's where they have a medley, The Rocker or Rocker.
Yeah.
That's a terrible song. That's on the Glyn Johns. You know what?
Well,
I don't need another version of Teddy Boy. I don't need another version of For You Blue, just to be clear. It's not a Paul thing. I don't need another version of For You Blue. You know, I want to hear the stuff in better quality that I enjoy from the bootlegs, which is Commonwealth. Commonwealth is hilarious.
It's odd. And there is a rehearsals version of All Things Must Pass, so we'll see which angle of that they've decided to go with.
Yeah, there's a few of those.
There's a lot of that around.
Yeah, I would be, Can You Dig It? Is that they're doing a Mock Turtle song? What is?
I was thinking it's the Monkeys song from the Head soundtrack.
Of course.
It is, I am quids in on that. The fourth CD / vinyl album is the 1969 Glyn Johns mix of the Get Back album, which is a curio because it was rejected because it sounded poor. It's nice to think that in the vinyl box you'll get a nice 12-inch vinyl because it's all mocked up in the proper Please Please Me style with them looking over the balcony. So essentially this is a version of what could have been dropped, to use modern day parlance, in May, June 1969, and you can decide whether it's worthwhile or not. I guess coming within 5 months of the White Album, looking at it, you kind of think, well, you know, it's a solid enough, as you say, things like Let It Be and The Long and Winding Road would have made a bigger impression maybe if they'd come out at that time. Well, I know they made a massive impression anyway, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah,
I mean, I think the word you used there, curio, is exactly right. It's a curio. For the record, there are 2 different Glyn John mixes, but we're getting one here. But there you go. He doesn't choose the best performances. It's badly sequenced. I mean, the end run is basically you end the album with Let It Be followed by The Long and Winding Road. So and then a little kind of so let's have 2 big ballads one after the other. I mean, it never struck me as being prepared in the sense of a final running order. It just seemed that the sequencing of it made no sense. Even if you decided, well, we're just going to take the kind of crappy as they are mixes and performances and takes, we're going to work with those. This cannot possibly have been the intended running order. It's so bad.
Then disc 5 on CD and disc 5 on vinyl, and here's where eyebrows were raised all across Beatle fandom, is an EP, because Get Back Let It Be is famously known for its EPs. And this is a 4-track It's called the Let It Be EP, and it's 4 tracks, Across the Universe, unreleased Glyn Johns 1970 mix. So that's possibly the 8th version of Across the Universe coming out by the Beatles. I Me Mine, an unreleased Glyn Johns 1970 mix. So they're obviously from the second pass that Glyn Johns made at the album. So instead of just giving us his second mix, they've just picked some versions from that. Then Don't Let Me Down, a new mix of the original single version, which is an odd idea. And then Let It Be, a new mix of the original single version of that as well. So the A's and B sides of the Let It Be single have been remixed a la, all the other Giles Martin album tracks, which is something that's been totally inconsistent across the Beatles reissues, because as great as the White Album reissue is, they should have done a pass at Lady Madonna and The Inner Light and Hey Jude and Revolution to give them proper 2018 stereo mixes, which they didn't do. But here they are doing a version of that, but they're not doing the B-side of the proper B-side of Let It Be, which is...
Whether You Know My Name, Look Up the Number.
Yeah, exactly. Which they could say, look, it isn't strictly speaking a January 1969 thing, but it was released as the official B-side.
And the vocals were done in 69. So
that is true.
There you go.
So that 5th album / CD is really strange, and it beggars the question, which, and we are not the first people to ask this question, which is, where is the rooftop gig?
Yes, this EP screams, this is where the rooftop gig should have been. Yes. But we've decided to change. We've changed our mind, and we're going to sell it to you at some other point before the end of the year. Well,
it's that's exactly what I thought as well. I thought, what is the point of this thing? Because I think, okay, we were giving out 5 minutes ago about some of the stuff that they haven't put on, but if disc 5 had been the rooftop gig, I think you'd say, yeah, that's fair enough. Rooftop gig, Glyn Johns mix, new mix, 2 CDs of bits and pieces, happy days. Not having the rooftop gig feels bad. And the question is, where is it? Like, what is the plan? We can talk about the other big thing that's missing, because if you buy the CDs, you get a Blu-ray. The Blu-ray has surround sound and high-res stereo on it, but it does not have the other thing that is missing, which is the Let It Be movie. Where is that?
And where is the original mix? Where is the original Let It Be album?
Yeah. Some, like, because they put some original. Well, they put in mono mixes on there wasn't a mono mix for Let It Be,
the White Album,
but the White Album has the original mono mix on it as well. Yeah, so I said I found a tweet from 2017 where I listed what I'd like in Let It Be box, and I said on DVDs and Blu-rays I'd like Let It Be the original movie. I'd like Get Back, a new version of the movie assembled from the footage. So I'd like to state for the record that was my idea in 2017 to make a new movie called Get Back from the footage. A documentary, which I called Four of Us, which I thought was quite clever because of 2 of us.
Very good.
Because I think you'd need to explain the situation. Movie trailers and 5.1 surround sound. So all we got is the 5.1 surround sound, but we are getting the Get Back movie, as we said in this other form. And then my CD wish list was Let It Be Naked, Get Back the Glyn Johns albums, complete rooftop concert, and 2 more CDs of sessions. We got 2 CDs of sessions, a Glyn Johns album, no Let It Be Naked, and no rooftop gig, which
they didn't get your note.
They did not get my note, but here's the $1 million question: Is there going to be a second part 2 box related to the movie?
Yes.
You're going to put your hat in the ring? No, that's not a hat in the ring. A foot down, flag in the sand. What's the metaphor I need?
I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and
right.
I think that what has happened is that this was going to be a 5-disc project, and then when it became clear that Peter Jackson's movie was not going to be, had issues with delays because of COVID and cinema releases, and then it kind of spins out into a 6-hour Disney Plus special. So I think what we are going to get is a Blu-ray package of the 6-hour Peter Jackson with extras, with the deleted scenes, the other bits and pieces, the alternate angle, opportunities. And I think there's going to be an audio disc of the entire rooftop concert, because we know that the rooftop concert is going to be included in its entirety in the 6-hour movie.
Yeah, that is true. And the other kind of idea that was floating around is that there's going to be some kind of mythical Beatles live box at some point. But I think even if there is a Beatles live box at some point, the rooftop gig is a different thing. It's not a concert per se. It's not a paid ticketed gig, and it belongs here. Yeah, I mean, Peter Jackson, as well as having form for, elongating things and turning them into 3 parts, he also has form for his home media versions of things, having commentaries and extended scenes. And so, yeah, we might not get it for another 12 months, but it's possible to imagine that, the 6 hours of Get Back turns into maybe a 7-hour or an 8-hour version, or 6 hours with extras for DVD, Blu-ray, plus a CD of the Rooftop, plus I think a CD of Let It Be Naked, rebranded as a Get Back album, the way that the Hollywood Bowl was rebranded as an 8 days a week live movie album.
Yeah, maybe
you could put the two. That'd be a 2 CD.
Do you think they'll include include the 20-minute fly on the wall?
Well, fly on the wall at least could be a DVD extra. Why not?
Just not.
I think I've listened to Fly on the Wall twice or 3 times.
I think the issue is, the thinking will have been, if we put the Rooftop gig here, it's a spoiler for the Get Back movie, which is going to show the whole of the Rooftop gig. So I think as soon as they decided they were going to put
well, actually, I hadn't thought of it that way, and that actually makes a smidgen of sense.
So I make a smidgen of sense. That's very generous of you. Finally, I think they think this is a spoiler.
Yeah.
But I also think, possibly because of this very podcast, I think the backlash already within the first kind of 24 hours about where is the Rooftop gig, I think if they weren't thinking of putting it out as an audio disc, I think they're going to have to. But I think that was probably always their thinking. If we put this out now, it's a spoiler for the big reveal on the movie, because we're going to sit through 45 minutes of that gig, and we're going to hang on every camera shot and every aside, and we're not going to have people in the street commenting and interrupting it. It's going to be people on the street.
Sorry, it's a reflex.
It's a reflex. So I think that's what it is. They've suddenly realised this is the spoiler. Yeah, and they need something to put in that disc. But
we all know they go on a roof and do those songs, but I do see what you mean. I see kind of the crazy business logic behind it.
And the thing is, the EP just smacks of lightweight, will this do filler.
Yeah, but
if they'd like to send us an advance box, obviously I'd say it was marvelous. Two copies would be great.
Thank you very much. Well, the other thing that is missing, as I mentioned, is the original Let It Be film, and we were told back in January 2019, because we've kicked around this football of the Let It Be box on our 2019 review and our 2020 review. We were told that the Let It Be movie will follow as well, that the Let It Be movie itself is being assembled again. And again, that could be part of a big audiovisual box set. Let It Be movie, Get Back movie, Rooftop gig on concert, plus or minus Let It Be Naked. That'd be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, let's be absolutely clear. If the 6-disc Blu-ray with extras plus Rooftop gig with the original movie, Let It Be Naked, I can live without, take or leave. Yeah. But if that comes out as a second box, I'll be there. I will buy that. I will not feel shortchanged by being sold that Blu-ray documentary over 6 hours plus the original movie plus the Rooftop gig as an audio. I'd be perfectly happy with that. What I object to is the very clear shortchanging on this disc, and it's not cheap.
It's not cheap, and it's looking like the CDs, because the CDs are mirrored, the 2 CDs are mirrored across just 2 records, 4 sides of vinyl, that it'll be exactly like the CDs from Abbey Road, which are in and around about 42 minutes. I think if the Abbey Road CDs were probably about 5 minutes shy. You could have taken off the something orchestral instrumental and they would have all fitted on 1 CD. So it's not like it is packed to the rafters with 4 hours of material. These CDs are running probably, the original album's 35 minutes. Glyn Johns is about 35 minutes, and the 2 CDs of extras are about 40 to 45 minutes, thereabouts. So it's not a ton of money. So yeah, price-wise, It's looking like the 5 CD Blu-ray version runs at about £100, €120, $140 ish. The 5 vinyls version, I'm saying vinyls.
I wish you would stop saying. I wish you would stop saying that.
People, it makes me seem young. The 4 LP 1 EP version is running at about €150, £125, or 170 up to $199. I did lock in. First of all, have you bought one? Have you put an order in?
No.
There was Amazon in Italy were selling the vinyl for 121 odd euro, which I've put a placeholder on that, but you should really support your local record store. I have to admit that it is the first time out of all these box set announcements where I haven't been rubbing my hands and licking my lips and getting very, very excited.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad I don't have to watch that. But it's
you know what I'm like.
I have to work for a living, so I haven't unlike you, I haven't had the opportunity to kind of sit around all day cruising Italian websites and Amazon. But yeah, I mean, I will be buying it. But I will not be rushing out to buy this in all formats. I'm not going to buy the CD and the vinyls. I'll be I'll be waiting to see if the vinyls come down in price.
I like how you're picking up on the vinyls thing.
Yeah,
it's one of those ones where you put a little bit of a price alert on and say, listen, I can wait a couple of months and pick this up for £70.
Yeah, looking at the track listing here, I think I'm looking forward to hearing the Giles Martin mix. I don't think Giles Martin has ever kind of let me down.
Now some people really hate Giles's mixes. I really enjoy hearing them, and they don't erase my original mixes. And I think when they're great, they're absolutely great.
And yes, I think like the White Album, I think this is an album that will probably come out of that remixing process exceptionally well. I think I'm not a huge fan of surround sound mixes, but I think the White Album was great. I think this will be great, I think, in the same way, and that's the aspect of it that I'm really looking forward to. The sessions and jams, I kind of know what they are. I don't think they're the best choices. They're not particularly interesting. I'll probably listen to them once or twice. I've heard the Glyn Johns mix. I'll be interested to see what they've done with it in terms of kind of polishing
mastering
it up. Mastering. But then it'll go kind of back on the shelf. I could see myself buying the 2 CD version.
Yeah, the 2 CD version. So we should talk about, we're talking about the big deluxe versions. There are other versions. There is a 2 CD version, which is it's got the album on album 1. And then the CD 2 is basically a compilation of stuff from the other 3 CDs, not the Glyn Johns. Glyn Johns is totally exclusive. The Glyn Johns 69 mix is totally exclusive to the big boxes. But CD 2 has a mixture of songs from the sessions, the alternate takes, and has the Glyn Johns 1970 Across the Universe mix, and actually looks like a pleasant enough 14 tracks. Actually, the 2 CD version looks really good value. It's also going to be on. There's also a 1 CD version. Vinyl wise, there's only a 1 LP version, a single LP version with the Giles Martin mix on it. So there isn't a cheap not cheap, but there isn't a 2 LP version with a selection. It's just a 1 LP version. There's a picture disc version that's available direct to consumers from Beatles.com. If you want to buy that for some reason, it's not the most exciting picture, I have to say. And it'll be on streaming and downloads and all the usual places as well. So you don't have to buy it. It's not like clever old Bob Dylan keeping his 1980s box set completely off streaming. So you have to buy it. You can just try it before you buy it, basically.
Very good. That was very well. That was very well done. Very well summarized.
Now there is, if you go to your streaming service of choice, there are 3 selections from the album up already today. So one is Let It Be, the song itself from the album. Now I was running around having, I had a listen on a lot of different formats just before we came in here today. So I've listened on the car speakers on the way home, the good speakers, and Dolby Atmos surround on Apple Music. And
you broke into your neighbour's house and listened on his Dolby Atmos system.
I have an Apple TV that tells me it plays Dolby Atmos. I'm not really sure what it's doing. But
do you have 100? Do you have 100 speakers in your living room?
No, I don't.
Well, then I'm not sure that's
it's a bit of a waste of time. But I have to say, listening to the regular Let It Be on a regular set of speakers, I like it. But I can see what he's done. He's done so the text that says it's in credit to Phil Spector, it's got some of the Phil Spectorisms, like Ringo's echoed, hi-hats, that thing that it does in the verses in Let It Be. So it still has that, but I think the horns from Let It Be, which are actually recorded in January with Paul, they're kind of mixed, kind of like a la Hey Jude. I think it's quite a nice mix. Paul is there; it's really well placed.
Let me guess. The bass is a little bit louder, and Paul's a little bit more in the foreground.
Correct. Yes.
Good.
No, but it does. I think it sounds really good. And when George's ripping solo comes in, which is again the January solo, it really jumps out at you.
Yeah, I
think it's good on a first listen.
Good. I say I don't have the same leisure time that you do, but I had the opportunity just very quickly, and I liked it. I have to say I liked it. If it's a taster for what he's done with the rest of the album, I'm on board with that.
On board. Good. And then the two other selections I have is Don't Let Me Down, the first rooftop performance where John kind of messes up the vocals, and it's just Don't Let Me Down. It sounds like the Beatles. It doesn't just sound like it's nice and mastered. And then For You Blue from the Glyn Johns version of Get Back from May 1969, and it's the same as For You Blue from the Let It Be album, except badly mixed and sounding kind of unpleasant.
Yes, I don't know why. I don't know why this would
really
be.
Sure I'm not sure what the joy is in listening to it.
I mean, let's hear the 1970 Glyn Johns unreleased mix of I Me Mine. That might, I'd be interested to hear that. I don't need to hear a badly mixed version of For You Blue.
So we're kind of a bit disappointed that we'll still line up like good Beatle fans, and there will be interesting bits and pieces on it, but it could have been so much more, and maybe we'll get a Get Back Movies Super Deluxe with a CD, a rooftop CD in there, and a Let It Be film in there. Is
this the point at which we're all starting to fall out of love with the box sets and the remixes?
Well, I was thinking, the White Album is such a great box set, but the White Album is actually 1968, the box set. That's what it is.
Pretty much.
And the Beatles, if they were to do a 1969, the box set album, and you'd be talking about culling what they did from January all the way through to August, and kind of shining it on a different light instead of having a Let It Be light and a Abbey Road light, and you did a 69 box. Actually, if you recontextualize the material that way, that could actually be something. I mean, nobody's going to do that. It's a total waste of time because, Let It Be is the thing that's got the brand recognition. But, putting it up against the White Album is sometimes a bit unfair because, obviously this is just 4 weeks of work, and it's 4 weeks of work from scratch, 6 weeks after putting out a double album. I don't even want to go to work in January. It's so dark, like at 9 o'clock in the morning. Like, what would they? Oh, it's just it's just crazy.
Well, you see, I kind of agree with most of that, except I do think that the opportunity was there to produce something that went up against the White Album box set. I think the kind of runt of the litter is the Abbey Road box set, because Abbey Road didn't really need a remix. It wasn't necessary. It was so
efficient as well. The recording was so efficient, and the original mix was so good.
Yeah. But here you've got the official album, you've got a couple of alternate versions in terms of Get Back and Don't Let Me Down, and the alternate single version of Let It Be. You've got My Name, Look Up the Number, which is a 1969 vocal. But you've also got 30 days. That's the name of the bootleg. You've got hours and hours and hours. And if they're going to put out mono stuff from the Niagara Reels, there's much more. They
could do better than that, yeah.
There's much more interesting stuff. And there's the opportunity to, there's one entire of those unsurpassed masters, which is pretty much George knocking something into shape. And there's that, asking John for lyrics and stuff like. That's an interesting kind of documentary style. And I would much rather, for example, get rid of that 4-song EP and let's have a kind of elements mix, or let's have a what's the phrase they use in the John Lennon mixes, where
the raw studios, or the raw mixes and the elements and all that,
where they're kind of showing
or the evolution mixes as well.
That's what I'm looking for. The evolution mixes, where they kind of show you George strumming the basic chords, then you've got kind of him asking Paul about lyrics, and you take 4 or 5 songs and give us the evolution mixes.
Yeah, evolution mixes would have suited this material well, because you wouldn't have to loiter on an entire 5-minute rough take. You know, you could just
exactly
do a little bit of curation and make it.
And we know that there are dozens of takes that break down and dozens of little kind of snippets and rehearsals and them knocking arrangements into shape. You know, there's an electric version of Two of Us, and this is a wasted opportunity. And I do think there was an opportunity to come up with something which would have stood comparison with the White Album, which is, I think, peak Boxset.
Yeah, and if you go to the Beatles.com today, what I found interesting was, you know, they've been trailing the Get Back film, but now if you go to Beatles.com, it has this thing where, you know, down the bottom it says, you know, the music, the film, the book, and it's like Get Back the book, Get Back the film, and it says Get Back the music, and over Get Back they've kind of put this cheeky sticker that says Let It Be, as if to say, oh, you know, there isn't a Get Back box set, it's a Let It Be box set. But this is part of the same thing, but it's kind of not. They'll
have paid some consultant £50,000 to come up with that idea.
Yes, yeah. It's a bit, look, we'll buy it, we'll listen to it, but it could have been so much more.
Yeah, I think that's it. We'll buy it, we listen to it, it could have been so much better.
Do you know what I was really excited about today? The ABBA announcement. We're getting a new ABBA song next week. That made me more excited than this.
I thought you were going to tell me, you were going to say the Ringo EP.
Well, Ringo has a new EP called Change the World, which is pleasant enough. Ringo looks very well for an 81-year-old.
It's a nice Ringo song. It's nicely recorded. I think Ringo is the one that's giving us the value for money. He's putting out these EPs. I genuinely think Ringo is the guy that I have most respect for in this entire situation at the minute. You know, he's not putting out 15 different coloured versions of a new album. You don't have to buy them.
You don't have to buy the coloured versions. You don't.
I'm guessing he's not going to get Idris Elba in to remix this single.
Change the World is nice, but yeah, ABBA, man. They've got this thing called Voyage, and it's got an album cover, and it's some kind of touring show, and there'll be a new song next week.
ABBA Star Trek crossover, is it? Or something?
It's an ABBA, I think it's
ABBA
like...
Voyager, is it?
It's going to be some kind of cross between... There's 5 new songs minimum, and they'll be doing ABBA stuff, and I thought that was quite interesting.
Will there be holograms?
There'll be holograms. Touring. There might be a full album, or I think it's going to turn into some kind of. It'll be a bit like Love. It'll be a bit like, you know, the Beatles' Love. Some kind of celebration of the band with new music, old music, mixed music, some kind of thing. Is this what it's going to be? And the other thing that I found out last night is a new piece of music from Gary Newman, Mark Ronson, and Paul McCartney.
You had me up to the point you mentioned Mark Ronson, but
Should I put them in a different order? A new piece of music from Paul McCartney and Gary Newman and Mark Ronson.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I'm definitely interested in hearing that.
But you can't hear Paul. He's just playing synths because that's what you want. You don't want to sing.
Yeah, because what?
Yeah, it's
like, why would Gary Newman get somebody in to play synths?
Yeah, it's pretty strange. But anyway, Let It Be from the Jukebox. Let It Be box set from the Jukebox jury here. It's probably a hit. In a sort of very begrudging term.
It's a begrudging hit.
It's a begrudging hit. That was the main thing we wanted to talk about today, but we wanted to just pivot for a few minutes at the end to spend a few minutes talking about Charlie Watts, because I think we should spend a few minutes talking about Charlie Watts.
We should spend at least a few minutes talking about Charlie Watts.
Because, you know, as I'm sure everyone listening out there, Charlie Watts passed away this week at the age of 80 after 57 years on the drum stool for the Rolling Stones. And it's an extraordinary body of work. You and me have both seen the Stones live. You certainly are more of a Stones head than I am.
I've seen the Stones a few times, yeah.
But it does feel like the end of an era.
I think so. And one of the things that you pointed out to me was that Paul McCartney did a little video.
Yeah, very
fast on social media, and he looked to be kind of maybe sitting on a stairs or something and just speaking into a phone. And as you pointed out to me, he doesn't do that. He doesn't sort of do his own social media, that kind of spur of the moment thing. And he seemed genuinely affected, and I think it was a genuine emotional response. And it's, this was somebody of his generation. It was a friend. It was a colleague, a rival, but it was somebody of that 60s generation, that 60s rock royalty. And you kind of don't expect, you just never expected the Stones, any of them, not to be here.
Well, it's always the worry, it comes to us all. But, somebody pointed out on Twitter last night that the last member of the Rolling Stones to die was Brian Jones, which was 52 years ago, which is an extraordinary run for any band,
I saw that sparked an immediate retort that, Ian Stewart was a member of the Rolling Stones and Bobby Keys and Nicky Hopkins. Yes, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is always a debate to be had about these things, but it's I've, as someone who, as a child of, getting into music in the 80s,
you keep stressing this.
Keep stressing that. That doesn't make me sound as young as I think it does.
No, it really doesn't.
When you're talking to fully formed adults who were born this millennium,
Yes.
I mentioned this on Twitter. My first interaction with Charlie Watts was I bought Steel Wheels when it came out, and I was going through the CD booklet, and there's a picture of Charlie Watts in the CD booklet for Steel Wheels where he looks extraordinarily cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, who the hell is that guy? That is not what I signed up for. That's not what I thought the Rolling Stones were about. And then as soon as you get into the world of Charlie Watts, because it was soon after that 25 by 5 was on telly back at the end of the 80s. And that's a fantastic documentary where Charlie gives us his, it's been 5 years of playing and 20 years of hanging around quote, which is kind of the essence of the man.
There was a very nice article in The Guardian today, and it was Stuart Copeland and Max Weinberg. Copeland was kind of just talking about the technical side, but Weinberg just told a great anecdote, and he said he got to meet Charlie Watts, and he was kind of up in Charlie Watts' suite or in his bed, and Charlie Watts was unpacking. Mm-hmm. And he said he had these two beautiful leather suitcases sitting on the bed, opened up, and all the clothes were very neatly folded. And as they're chatting, Charlie Watts is lifting all of the clothes out of the suitcase, folding them up and setting them on the bed, and then puts them all into drawers in the wardrobe and hangs everything up. And Max Weinberg was saying, in 15 years of touring with the E Street Band, I've never once used a hotel drawer. Everything just stays in the suitcase. And I said he was just absolutely immaculately dressed. And then somebody came and knocked the door and said, it's time to leave for the stadium. And he went into the bathroom and came out wearing a pair of tracksuit trousers and a t-shirt and said, well, I have to go and play for them. And I said he always referred to the Stones as, in the third person. It was never like it's us or it's my band, or it was always the Stones. It was the band. It was them. He never kind of... The other anecdote somebody said, I do not know if this is true, was saying that the Stones are playing in town, and Charlie Watts is kind of sitting by the pool in this hotel, and Paul McCartney is in town as well, and he's in the hotel, and he comes over and he kind of says to Charlie Watts, we're staying in I actually didn't know we were staying in the same hotel. And Charlie Watts said, what are you doing here? And Paul says, I'm playing with my band tomorrow night. And Charlie Watts said, your band? I thought two of them were dead. And said,
dear.
And the person who was recounting this said Paul McCartney just kind of rolled his eyes and kind of laughed and said only Charlie Watts could get away with saying that to Paul McCartney. I hope that's a true story.
Well, Charlie Watts, he was the perfect drummer for the Stones. And, you look at any of those guys. So you mentioned there, Max Weinberg, Stuart Copeland, our beloved Ringo, someone like Nick Mason. None of these drummers are interchangeable with any of their bands, and a band is only as good as its drummer. So, Ringo would have been wrong for the Stones. Charlie would have been wrong for the Beatles, but Charlie was perfect for the Stones. And like Ringo, played on a very small kit, but had a very usually angled snare, but seems to have just two floor toms, the bass drum and a snare. There's a great bit of footage. Have you seen the footage from the Martin Scorsese film where the camera just sits on Charlie?
Yes.
And it's extraordinary. I think it's Jumping Jack Flash, I think is the is the song they're doing. And you just what I watch drummers at gigs all the time. It's usually where the fun is, and it's amazing what he's doing. The economy of it.
I was going to say he's not doing very much, but
he's doing everything. But he's doing
everything, and both in this Guardian piece, both Max Weinberg and Stuart Copeland commented on the fact that he never broke a sweat.
No,
he said, you've got Jagger running all over the stage, you've got Keith and Ronnie throwing shapes, and Charlie is just sitting there, effectively leading the band, and it's the economy of movement and this kind of very minimalist approach. The other interesting thing that Copeland said was that he said Jagger is as much as a part of the rhythm section of that band as anybody else, and that Keith always kind of talks about the relationship he has with Charlie Watts, and they would kind of try and sometimes to the point where they would deliberately try and throw each other off. And he said, but Copeland was making the point that Jagger's vocal style is actually as much a part of the rhythm, and Jagger and Watts have as much of a kind of relationship as Richards and Charlie did.
Well, I think there's been, I've, starting your Stones Odyssey with Steel Wheels is a bit of an odd journey to make, but I think for the last 30 years of it being just the four of them after Bill Wyman left, I thought the four of them made a great. Yeah. They looked great together. Ron and Keith and Mick and Charlie, as they kind of essentially got old over the last 30 years, and we're all kind of wondering, how this amazing artistic experiment, where, how is it ending? And we're kind of sadly had to get an answer to that this week. But to watch the four of them do their thing, I thought they had a great. I'm very fond of that kind of latter-day Stones group.
Yeah, well, I mean, we saw them in Croke Park.
So it was 2018.
2018, and they did a version there of "It's Only Rock and Roll," and there was somebody beside me, and they said, he said, they've been together over 50 years, but they sound as if they just got together last week to rehearse this. It was those performances which were incredibly engaging, but they almost kind of sounded as if they could fall apart at any moment.
I was stunned by that. Yeah. I was stunned by that 2018 gig because I'd seen the Stones. So the first time I saw them was 99 in Wembley Stadium, and I went over to London to see them, and it was rainy, and Sheryl Crow was the support, and I just kind of went to see them to kind of tick them off my list. I don't really have a huge. It was Bridges to Babylon, and its stage came out to the middle, and there was a bit of that going on.
I was at that gig too.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
What did you think? It was all right.
Well, I thought it was good. But that's not my Stones. That was a very kind of slick show. Yeah. They had a horn section. It was not the kind of slightly shambolic version of the Stones that I.
Well, then I saw them in 2003 in an indoor kind of 8,000, the Old Point Depot in Dublin, and they were doing their 40 Licks tour, and that was an odd kind of night because it was a small venue. I was right at the back, and it was kind of hard to take in because there seemed to be a lot of people kind of just there for the socialising back at the back of the hall. Was that so then when I went to see them in Croke Park,
I was going to say, did Andrea?
Who did I get? There was some guest.
Andrea Corr.
I think it was Andrea Corr came out and did a song. Was it Wild Horses or something?
I think it was Wild Horses, because somebody in the review at the time said she was being very careful not to let Mick Jagger touch her in case she fell pregnant.
Well, and you try writing that these days. And then, so I went to see them in 2018, and I guess you're kind of going because the Stones are in town. And what they've kind of done in the last 5 years was announce these tours at very reasonably short notice, like at about 10 weeks' notice. And so they were starting their European tour in Croke Park, which is an outside Gaelic football arena that takes about 80,000 when full and about 50,000 for gigs and things. And I was shocked at how good they were and at how loose they were. And all of that was because of Charlie. Yeah. That, it did for the first time. It had that excitement of, I can't recall seeing a stadium gig before that felt so limber and loose. And I was like, oh, this is it. I can't believe I'm getting it from them now in their mid-70s that they're doing that Stones thing. It was wonderful.
It was wonderful. I saw them there, and I saw them, I think, only a few weeks later in London in Twickenham.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a broadly similar set. I think James Bay was the guest at that point. But they finished with Satisfaction. and we were reasonably close to the kind of runway, and they finished the song, and Jagger kind of waved to the crowd, and Charlie started to play the drum beat again, and the Keith and Ronnie kicked in, and the band, and Jagger was absolutely on the point of collapse. You could see that he kind of had so paced himself that he had finished and he'd kind of given everything, and Charlie just kicked the song off again. And it was almost like he had done it on purpose. You could almost see the exasperation on Jagger's face. He was having to do another 2.5 minutes because that was going to kill him, you know? And it's that kind. It was a very kind of loose performance on both those nights, and I think that was probably that Croke Park gig was probably as good a gig as I've ever seen. I think I was trying to count it up this week, and I think I've seen them 14 or 15 times since.
Well, the fact that you went to see them in 1982 because you thought there's not much left in them.
That's my favourite story, where I was 17 or 18 years old. I rang half a dozen of my friends and said, the Stones are playing Slane. We have to go and see them. Mick Jagger is approaching his 40th birthday. He'll not be able to do this when he's 40. They will never tour again. And 25 years later, I went to see them in Slane again. And one of my friends rang me up and said, do you think they may never tour again?
They are due to tour again with Steve Jordan on the drums. So it was announced a few weeks ago that Charlie wouldn't be making the upcoming tour. And it's a tour that's been delayed by COVID from 2020. So they're playing some shows in North America from September to November. You're going to ask the question.
You're going to ask me, is this it? Is this the Stones? With hindsight, I think Charlie's statement where he said, for once my timing is off.
That sound, he probably didn't say that. A publicist must have said that. It was signed off, I suppose.
But he signed off on it. So he's kind of saying, my timing was off. I don't want to disappoint the fans. I've asked my very good friend, Steve Jordan, to sit in for me. And with hindsight, I think this is paving the way. This was Charlie anointing a successor. You know, they were able to replace Bill Wyman. You know, Bill was the kind of most low-key member of the band. He kind of stood there. He played the bass. He was essential to the sound. And I think there is going to be so much, it's not the Stones, it doesn't sound the same. I don't think it will sound the same. Steve Jordan is a very good drummer. He's kind of played with Keith in the past.
He played on Dirty Work.
Yeah. That was the album where Charlie... And you can tell that that's not Charlie. I mean, that's a good point. If you go to Dirty Work is an album that doesn't kind of swing. It's a victim of its time. It's that production. They weren't gelling together as a band. Jimmy Page is there.
This is usually the point where I come in and make the case for Dirty Work, but I'm not going to do that. That's not. I
actually think Dirty Work is a much better album than people think.
Okay,
I think it's better than Emotional Rescue. It's not the worst album they ever recorded.
What is?
The worst album they ever recorded, the one I like least is probably Emotional Rescue.
Okay. I'll just write that down.
Yeah, I'm very much the kind of 1967 and onward Stones, the early Stones. A good singles compilation, that Rolled Gold.
Yeah.
By Rolled Gold, Satanic Majesties, and then everything thereafter.
But do you think as Steve Jordan kind of steps up that this is what else are they going to do?
I think this is their test. I think this is a short tour. If this is well received, if the critics don't tear them to shreds, if the fans are still prepared to come out, I think they'll just keep going.
I feel at this point, they can do what they want.
I think
I don't mind if they do. I don't mind if they don't. It's their life, and they've given their lives to this work, and they should keep going for what they want to do. We have no other option, you know. And if Charlie could be there, he'd be there. But this is their life's work, and they can go out swinging if they want.
What I would say is I've seen the Stones that number of times. I saw them in 1982. I saw them in the 90s. I actually think the Croke Park gig was as good a gig as I ever saw them give. And I saw them in 2019 on one of their American shows, and they were equally as good. And they filled Soldier Field in Chicago, and they got a tremendous reception, and they just were a great band.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got so much to remember them by. You know, I had the TV on last night and I was flicking through and a Stones compilation was on, and I didn't like the feeling of seeing the Stones and feeling sad. You know, I'm so used to, you know, those clips and those videos come on the telly on BBC4 or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I can watch this for a bit. You know, this is great, and it's quite a legacy.
I was really taken aback by how upset I was to hear the news. And I mean, I hadn't really, I suppose if I'd paid more attention to the kind of statement and that Charlie's not on tour and you sort of his illness in the past, but I was completely blindsided by, and equally blindsided by the depth of how upset I was when I heard it. So he was extraordinary, and he always got the biggest cheer on the night. He always got the biggest cheer on the night. So, you know, we normally try and send people off to listen to Beatle records, but you know, let's just go listen to some Stones. Go and listen to Steel Wheels. That was just telling people.
The albums I broke out were Steel Wheels and Their Satanic Majesties, which caused a wave of revulsion on Twitter. Just like, what is wrong with you?
I said on Twitter at the time, you're ever the contrarian. If you have it, and I don't know whether it's on streaming or not, there is a live album called Some Girls in Texas.
Oh yeah, I saw you listening to that, which I haven't listened to actually.
That is, I had forgotten, is like getting repeatedly punched in the face, but in a good way. They play half of the Some Girls album, and you know, a smattering of the classics, and it's I think it's probably the band at their absolute live peak, recorded in a small venue. It's sensational and amazingly well recorded for 1978.
Yeah, and there's still like there's new Stone stuff came out last week. The Tattoo You stuff is coming out as well, so they're still going on. But go listen to some Stones.
That's a box set I'll be getting. Yeah, go listen to the Stones.
Go listen to the Stones. But what do you think about all of this, everybody? We're available in the usual places at Beatles Pod, the Nothing Is Real Facebook group. We have our Acast Plus subscribers, and we need to thank them for subscribing. We have our It's All Too Much tier, so Season 5 is in the works and coming sooner than you think, coming in September 2021. But in the interim, there's this kind of parallel Ghost Season 4.5 on It's All Too Much for Acast Plus subscribers, and we've covered a couple of different things. Paul McCartney's Birds, we've had Luke Haynes on talking about Dark Horse, and we want to thank all our subscribers, and go and investigate it yourself if you haven't yet so far. All of this information is available on the website, nothingisrealpod.com, and you can find out all the other bits and pieces that we're involved in there. But for now, I'm Jason Carty.
I'm Stephen Cockcroft.
And this has been Nothing Is Real. Thank you for listening.